Hello and welcome to another session of Thinking in React. And today we'll be seeing an introduction to our main project that is titled ToDo List. So ToDo List is a popular, let's say, a to-do list application or a note-taking application basically that is very minimalistic and easy to use. So one of a personal favorite of mine. We'll try to make a little application of our own that sort of imitates that, and we'll see that whatever learning we've had up till now, it's time to put it to use. And we'll be building this project in several parts. So instead of just starting out and writing all the code at once, what we'll be doing is we'll build it in several levels. Like we'll build a basic structure at first, then we'll have some learnings, we'll put it into the project, and we'll have our second level or version 2.0 of this one, then next version 3.0 and so on. I believe in the introduction slide I've discussed this method that we'll be using of learning and then practice and learning and practice, and then at some milestone introduction of a project, again that same cycle repeats, again an improvement to that already built project of ours. So this will be the first part of this to-do list. So let's see what this is. Okay, so it is basically it will be a practice session for you guys, and don't worry, up till now nothing very let's say hi-fi is not added up till for this particular application. Whatever we have learned up till now, a combination of all that knowledge will be required in order to perform all these tasks that I have mentioned right here. So before we skim through them and understand what they are, I will like to address those who will be attempting this in the form, in the local environment, who will be attempting this project in the local environment. So you don't need to write all of this out separately and create all that folder of yours. What you can do is just head over here, and this particular icon, if you hit it, all of these project of this, it will be downloaded in a zip format. So you can head over to your downloads folder, extract that zip folder, and inside it, there will be one folder containing all of these files right here. And you know how to open a particular folder inside VS Code. If you have some confusion regarding it, make sure to check out the previous lecture in which we discussed how to set up the local environment for the case of Windows. Now, another thing that I would like to address in this one is, if you are using your local system in order to work on this project, you should do this one thing. But right after you extract that particular this project folder, just head over. So I'm just showing you a little dry run of mine. So as we saw in the previous lecture, I created one React folder in my D drive, and then there was an application called my app inside it, right? Okay, so like this, you will first have to head over to whatever particular folder it is located at whatever particular path you have extracted that zip file. And in order to traverse through these paths, these directories, you'll have, I think, two commands will be very handy for you. One will be cd, that is change directory. So what it does is, if you are inside D drive, let's say like this, so now there will be some folders, let's say ABCDE inside a D drive, or let's say there are ABCDE folders inside this particular, inside this path. Okay, so if you want to head over to folder A, you will just have to write cd and the name of the folder, like A or B or C. So this way, what will happen is, it will change the directory to the whatever folder name you mentioned. Now, in some cases, that folder might be located at some levels out of this parent folder. Let's say by mistake I have landed into this my app folder, but then I remembered that no, whatever I require, it is located at the level of that local disk D. So I need to traverse back two folders. Okay, so how do we do that? So we just have to type cd and dot dot. So if you do it like this, you will get one level backwards. If you write it again, you'll again go one level back. And then if you want to like again search for any particular folder, you want to open it. Let's say I have one downloads folder inside this. So this way I can tap into it. And once you head over, let me again get back there like this, and here this, okay, cdmy tab like this. So once you are at the level of whatever project folder we have, write this particular command like this, npm install, and hit enter. So what it will do is it will download like the React DOM, and React script modules that are included with this package. So in order to have your code working smoothly without any issues, just executing this npm install command, instead of writing like if we want to install a specific package from npm, what the general procedure is, you write npm install and then you write that package name like this. But if you head over, you point your like this terminal to a particular folder, and then if you write just plain npm install, so it will automatically look into what kind of dependencies you require in your particular project, and it will download those dependencies accordingly. Once you execute this npm install command, you will be good to go, and using that npm start, you will be able to start seeing whatever that code is meant for. Now getting back to our code sandbox, let's see what this practice session of ours wants us to do. So the number one is create a React app from scratch. That is the same one, like rendering your app component, or let's say in the initial case, a simple header hello world, and rendering it and using the document.get element and blah blah blah. So final result should display. Okay, now okay, I think it should say final result should contain instead of display. Okay, number one will be an app component, as in a file of app, a header component, a footer component, and a node component. What should be what these folders should be consisting of, we'll discuss it just a little from now. So we have 4 folders right here. First point is this. The second point is, let's see what these folders contain. So app.jsx, as we've discussed previously, it is basically a newer version, or let's say holding all the garbage instead of index.js. So app.jsx is nothing new. It will be displaying all these particular components, and then app.jsx will be rendered inside the render function of index.js. Now in the header.jsx component, the header component, we are supposed to display ToDo List in a heading. So let me show you the completed version. Like this is what we desire to achieve by this practice session. So what does it consist of? There's one header part of this in which ToDo List is written. So this particular section will be handled by this header component, and if you look down below, you'll see there's this copyright at the rate of the current year. So remember, this is not hard coded. This is being dynamically extracted from the system, whatever current year we have. This particular segment will be handled by this footer component, like it will display copyright at the rate current year, and the current year should be rendered dynamically. And the final one is a node component. Now this node component, I've given you a hint, like you can use a div element in this, and this will contain an h1 heading, and a p, that means a paragraph tag, for title and content respectively. So like this, you'll have a div, and then in the heading, as a sample text, I have written like this is the node title and this is the node content. You can write whatever you want, one header and one para tag. That's it. You have 3 components: header, node, and footer, and all of these will be integrated, will be combined inside this app component, and finally that app component will be rendered inside index.js. Now in addition to this, you can see that this is not just like plain structure. So it has some styling added to it. For example, this font is a little bit modified, and there's this color in here, and this font is also colored. So for that, for all these extra nitty-gritties that are inside this, I have a styles.css file along with the starter code sandbox that you will be having, and it will be already filled with some code pertaining to different let's say components. And I'm not going to tell you which particular class is for what. You can head over, you can see this folder for yourself. You'll be able to see that what all elements or what all classes I have mentioned inside this, and all those classes or elements you have to write a code accordingly. That means if you are writing an element for which some styling is mentioned in here, then it will automatically be added. But in case there's some class inside of styles.css and I've named them very like accordingly whatever we'll be using. So if you see that there's some class that might be related to some of your component, then you know how to add a class inside your React component, use it. Even if you're not able to add styling to this particular project, no issues. What the minimum requirement that I want you to do is make these three components, and it should display something like this. Even if the styling is not that, a header component, a node, and a footer component combined in one app component. So pause this now and give it a try yourself. So the first step will be similar to what we've been doing since almost eternity. So import react DOM from React DOM, and then we want to render something, and let's have something as h1 as of now, only hello for this time. And then we'll have document dot get element by id, and the id of our element is root. So this is the basic index.js file setup. The next step was to have one app component. So let's create a folder of components in order to have them in a neat fashion. And as we discussed previously, it's better to name our files properly. So create a app.jsx file. Inside this app.jsx file, we'll first import the React module like this, then creating a function of app. We'll be returning, let's say, this h1 tag as of now, the same one that we were returning there as of up till now. We'll be okay. Let's add this w to see the difference. So then we'll write export default and app. Then in order to access it, we'll have to import this from the path of components, and inside components we want is app. Okay, so and finally we'll have our custom app component like this, and this should turn into hello like this. So this w signifies that this app is now working. Okay, so one app component is finally done. The next one is to create a header component. Let's create it. Header.jsx. Then again, all of that having like this. We'll create a function of header that will return something, and we'll export this as a default header like this. So we have completed the header component of ours. The next thing is we have to return this one header element is there. All right, so if you can see, number one thing that we want is inside an h1 tag we have to have ToDo List written like this. Let's add this bracket right here, and in app, now instead of h1, what we'll do is we'll create a div, and let's add one closing tag of this like this, and we'll mention our custom header component. In order to make it understand where it is coming from, we have to import it from header like this. Nope, we have to add it properly like the path. So it signifies that inside this path of yours, this header, we have this. And okay, why is this red line being displayed here? Could not find module in path. So we have header only. Do we have any typo here? Import header ToDo List. Okay, let's see. HEADER app HEADER. Okay, we'll see it later anyways. So now inside this header, the actual thing is we have, in order to get this sort of hint, you can always head over to this styles.css folder, and you can see that for header we have this styling applied to the header HTML element. Okay, so we'll have to wrap this h1 inside a header element like this, these header tags. And if now I hit save, okay, let me mark it as closing. Okay, so let me open it as well, and we'll have this window by window comparison of the final one that we ought to achieve and the one that we have achieved up till now. Okay, so let's keep this D capital. I like it like this. So now we can see that all these stylings that are there in for this header element, this header tag, are being applied. Like the background color is mentioned, the margin, the padding, the box shadow, and for the h1 that is inside this header tag of ours, it has this color, McLaren and cursive, font family, it is aligned at the center and whatnot. So we have completed the header one. The next one, let's see what it is. It's a footer component. Let's create another component called footer, and I will demonstrate something with this footer one. Before, let's do all the okay, like this. We create a footer function, we export this as default like this, and you see inside footer we have to have this display copyright at the rate current year. So let's return inside footer, let's say we have a para tag, and then inside this we are writing copyright. So we're not using this at the rate sign because it appears a little weird inside code sandbox. So if you see, I've modified that initial comments, and you'll see I've added this copyright logo right here for you to just copy it from here and paste it like this. And then let's say as of now, just keep it hard coded like this, and inside app, let me copy paste this and keep this footer, name this as footer, and then below this I want this custom footer component. Now you will be able to see that, all right, I have this. Okay, let me add one space in them like this. So you'll see that even though I'm able to see this footer being displayed below the header element of mine like this, but in the desired result, it is marked at the very bottom, and the color is also altered. The font is also a little bit different. So how do we do this? So if you like understand HTML and CSS, you know that all of this orientation and coloring stuff, it is all the working of CSS. So we can anticipate that there might be some CSS styling or attributes that needs to be added in this, which are not yet added. So let's head over to styles.css to see them. And here you can see that for the footer, that we have to have one footer element, the HTML footer element, the tag, we have to have it, and inside that we ought to have the para tag whose color is this, and all the let's say styling and the orientation stuff. As you can see, the position is to be absolute, the text is to be at the center, and the bottom is 0, width and height. So all of these will be applied only if we keep our footer inside a footer element. So as in the case of header, we have to keep this inside footer like this in order to have that styling applied. Okay, so and how did I get this idea that I'm not completed by just mentioning a para tag right here, and I need a footer tag as well? Because I head over to styles.css and I see that that very accordingly the nomenclature is according to like very intuitive. And then in here for the header one, similarly the header tag and h1 tag inside the header tag. Similar cases for the footer tag and the para tag inside the footer tag. So in order to have that styling applied, I need to mention this footer tag as well. Now always remember, when we talk about this footer tag, so it is, since this is an HTML element, that's why it is to be written in lowercase. But in the case of the function, in the case of this component, you have to have the first letter capitalized, as in Pascal case, because this capitalization and this lowercase, this is the difference how like through which React will identify like this capitalized F and this footer is signifying the component of footer that we have, and this particular smaller one is signifying the footer tag that we are using. So always remember to follow these basic practices and all the rules associated with them. So up till now in our app, we can see we have completed our two components, the header and footer, and the next one is a node component. Let's create it, and again we'll write this. You'll write it so many times that it will become second nature to you, like this, and export default no. Now what is expected in this node component of ours, you can see it should have a div element with h1 and a para tag for content. So we'll have to return a div. Let me close this like this, and inside this we have to have one h1 tag and one para tag after this, like this. Let's say in this I'm writing this is the heading and this is the content, like this. Then I head over to app.jsx. I import this node from and then I will mention it as my custom component like this. Now again, you can see the styling is not there. We are just able to see one heading and one para tag, and they are in their very rawest form. So again, if we have a doubt about the styling, we'll head over to styles.css. And if you scroll down a bit, you'll be able to see that even though there's some styling mentioned for h1 and p, but a class is also mentioned, a class named note. And how do I know that? How do I know that this is a class? Because we have this dot operator before the naming of this, and then all the styling regarding the background, the border radius and whatnot, it is applied for this particular class. And then it is sort of hinting that this h1 is supposed to be wrapped inside this class, or this h1 is also a part of this class, and this paragraph is also part of this class. So let's say if we head over to app.jsx, and then I try to add this class, which I know that I have to use this camel casing convention. The name of the class was note. Even if I do this, you will see that there will be no significant difference, or let's say any difference at all. So why is this happening? So actually, you always need to remember that the HTML attributes like this, you want to add class, or let's say some attribute like on click, they can be applied only on HTML elements. We are not supposed to write them inside these custom component of ours. The main reason why we do why we practice this, we'll see that in the upcoming session when we'll be discussing React properties. So for now, we'll just remove it from here, and we'll make a mental note of this, that we're not supposed to add these HTML element inside these custom component of ours. And we'll just head over to node, and since we can see that this node class is consistent throughout, like both the h1 and p, so better to add that in this div like this. And once we added this class of node at this div level, so it is automatically covering this h1 and p as well. So now you can see heading and this content is now done. And if I remove these comments from here and I save all of these files like this, and we head over to this, so you can see this was the one that we hope to achieve, and this is the one that we created. So it is a little difference, I think, in the text format, but this is basically what we hope to achieve. Oh, hold on, one thing is left, and that is inside footer. Yeah, we were supposed to have this dynamically, right? So in order to have that, let's just quickly create a constant of year. I hope that I forgot it by mistake, but you guys must have done this. We've done it a couple of times now. And then instead of 2022 here, we'll just write year like this. And if we head over to this, you can see it is still the same, but now this year is being dynamically rendered right in this project of ours. So this is what we did, and this is what we hope to achieve. So pretty much the same. And let me show my face to you. Okay, so this particular practice session was a little bit on the tougher side, I would say. It sort of encouraged you to have this a little bit of a puzzle hunting, and you need to find what all stylings are needed for our components, which styling we have to apply to which component, and the naming convention accordingly. So this was a good one, and it involved all of the knowledge, like a major chunk of it that we have covered up till now, whether it was regarding the dynamic usage of the current year, or be it the splitting up of this project in components, or like applying the classes, the CSS classes, or the stylings via HTML elements. All of that was there. And up till now, you might have seen that there's almost zero functionality of this to-do list of ours as of now, because the notes that we ought to make from this, we have just hard-coded them with this is the heading and this is the content stuff. So, but remember, this was the version 1.0 of this particular application, and in the upcoming lectures, when we'll be learning more and applying more, we'll create further subsequent versions of this particular application, and at the end you will have a perfectly working Todoist app of your own, where you can take your notes and like write down your Todoists for the day. And I hope you were able to complete this challenge. If you face any difficulty with respect to this, you can go through this solution once again, and that will be all for this particular session. We'll catch up in the next one.